All right, good morning. My name is Bethany Davis. I'm a graduate assistant here in our Office of Career Services, and today I'm going to be talking with you guys about the True Colors Assessment. So I'm going to share my screen and get started by just showing you guys what the assessment looks like and kind of explaining it to you. Your professor should provide you with this document, and I'll just kind of talk you through how to use it and what that looks like. All right, so this is the True Colors Assessment. And what will happen is you're just gonna go across in rows. So rows go across, columns go down. That's just gonna solve some confusion hopefully for later. So rows go across, and what you'll do is you'll rate each one of these set of words on a scale of 1 to 4. 4 being what is most like you, 1 being least like you. So for instance, if you're more parental than you are active, then you're going to put a 4 for parental, and then a 3, and then a 2, and then a 1. So you'll go across the rows and you'll rate those 1 through 4, and then you'll go down your columns to add them up at the end. So you'll go down your columns, add up your numbers. You'll have a total for each color, and then whatever your highest total is, that is your main color, and then whatever your second highest color is, that is your secondary color. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our presentation. So I'm just going to talk to you guys a little bit about the background of True Colors, where it came from, why we use it, and then we'll jump right into the colors. All right, so the background is an attempt to identify various personality styles labeled with colors. So it makes it super simple. Instead of having to remember like ENFP or ENFJ or anything like that, you just remember one simple color. We've got orange, gold, blue, and green. It was developed by Don Lowry and based on the works of Isabel Briggs Myers, Catherine Briggs, and David Keirsey. If you've ever heard of the MBTI, so the Myers-Briggs, it's based off of that same kind of research. Its objective is to apply temperament and personality style to facilitate deeper communication and understanding. So this not only helps you understand yourself, it also is going to help you understand others, and that's going to decrease conflict. So you're going to understand what you need out of a workplace and out of relationships, and then you're also going to be able to understand where other people may be coming from, because you're going to be able to spot, oh, they're a gold, and understand what they need. Each person is a unique blend of the 4 colors. You're on a spectrum. So that means that you're not necessarily going to be completely orange 100% of the time. You're going to have parts of your personality that draw from all of these colors. The main point is to give you your understanding of what your primary colors are. So your first 2, and those are going to be the ones you normally are going to resort to. There's no good or bad colors. So as we go through these, we're going to talk about the positives, we're going to talk about the negatives of all of them. We need oranges, and we need golds, and we need blues, and we need greens. So they're all good colors. There are wide individual variations within each color spectrum. So just because you're an orange does not mean you're going to be just like every other orange you ever meet. So each of these personalities kind of have different ends of the spectrum that you can be on. So you could be an orange who's totally different from another orange that you meet. Each color is reflective of your personality. You're going to identify a primary and a secondary color. Those are your preferred styles. So you may resort to one of the other colors when you're put in certain situations, but typically you're going to go with one of your preferred styles. The colors you do not choose will have some characteristics that are representative of you. However, it's not your preferred style. So you might say, you know, oh, well, when I'm around my siblings, I'm a green. Well, you may not prefer to be that. It's just what you are when you're put in those situations. True Colors is valuable for improving your effectiveness in working with others. So again, you can communicate effectively who you are and what you need, but you can also begin to spot who other people are and what they may need in different situations. So again, to take the assessment, you're going to rank each set of word clusters in each row from 1 to 4, 4 being most like you, 1 being least like you. Once you have them ranked, you're going to total your answers down at the bottom, and that will let you know which colors are your primary. The color with your highest score is primary, color with the second highest score is secondary. If you have a tie, the one that you choose is going to be your primary. So once we go through and we talk about the different colors, you might have tied for both orange and blue, but you're going to say, oh, I'm definitely in orange. And then in that case, you would go with orange as your primary color. All right, so this would be the point where you guys would kind of just pause this video, take the assessment, total up your scores at the bottom, maybe circle, star, underline, whatever your two main colors are. And then we're going to walk through the different personality types. We're going to walk through what they need. We're going to walk through what's important to them. And then we're going to walk through some things that are typically miscommunicated about them. So oranges, their number one goal is that they must be free to act. So oranges do not like to be tied down. They're not your people who really want to be chained to a desk doing paperwork all day. They like to be able to kind of be up, talking to people, doing things and being involved. They're very do it now people. They're impulsive. They like to test the limits. They're free and spontaneous. They're active, optimistic, and competitive. They need variety. They don't really like for every day to be always the same. They resist commitment, again, not in a bad way, not necessarily a bad thing. They just prefer to be very flexible. They prefer to go with the flow. They thrive on crises, again, because they're not attached to a schedule. They're not attached to a plan. They're very flexible. So when things change, they respond very well to it. They have great endurance, a lot of energy. They can get temporarily defeated, but they usually bounce back. They accept clutter. They're not worried about everything being clean. They're drawn to action jobs. Again, they don't want to be doing paperwork all day. They like to be the center of attention, not in a bad way. It's just that it doesn't scare them. They don't mind if all eyes are on them and they kind of have everyone's attention. They're dynamic, animated communicators. They deal with the here and now, so they're not worried about the past. They're not obsessing over the future. They want to handle what's going on today. What can we do right now? They're very bold in their relationships, so they're not going to be the ones who shy away from admitting if something's going wrong or addressing a problem or anything like that. And they bring excitement to society. So these are your people that are going to throw random office parties. These are your people that are going to invite you to go drive down to the beach and watch the sunrise. Like, these are your very kind of spontaneous, exciting people. So the way that oranges see themselves, they see themselves as fun-loving, spontaneous, flexible, carefree, proficient, hands-on, practical, problem solver, good negotiator, a here and now person. They can do many things at once. They're eclectic. All of those things are good. But to other people who aren't oranges, sometimes those things can be miscommunicated. So as an orange, it's really good to kind of explain where you're coming from and explain what's important to you so that other colors can understand you. If you are not an orange, or any of these other colors that we walk through, I want you to look at how these different colors see themselves and understand that sometimes the way you see them isn't necessarily being communicated correctly. So sometimes we who aren't oranges may see oranges as irresponsible, flaky, wishy-washy, not serious, spending too much time on things they enjoy, not interested in ideas, disobeying rules, manipulative, not able to stay on task, cluttered, indecisive, all of those things. But again, if we really understand an orange and we really understand where they're coming from, we're going to understand that we're seeing them in a different way than they see themselves. So how to work with an orange. So if you ever are working in an office and you have a person who's very spontaneous, very fun-loving, very active all the time, and you're just not really sure how to work with them, these are some good tips. You're going to be active. Try not to slow them down. This is not the person you want to stick doing the paperwork. This is the person you want to be doing the legwork. So if there's something you can give to them that's a task where they get to be active, always do that. Be spontaneous and fun. Compete with them when it's appropriate. So if you're in a PT office and you work with an orange and they're just, they've kind of been down, they've kind of been out, not really having much fun lately. If you've got, a couple of high school patients in, you could walk up to that orange and say, hey, how do you feel about a push-up contest, right? They're going to love that. They're going to be super excited about the spontaneity. They're going to want the competition. And it doesn't really take away from your job. It doesn't necessarily keep you from being able to work, but it does kind of get them back into things and back being excited. Be adventuresome and optimistic. Oranges do not enjoy it when people are pessimistic. They always like to see the bright side. And then be energetic and ready to go. So for oranges, they're going to come to work ready. They're going to hit the ground running. And it's really frustrating for them when there's someone who's kind of hanging back and really just wants to like sit around and sip their coffee. They really enjoy being able to get up and get to their job. All right, so goals. Something that's really important to golds is being of service. So these are your servant leaders. These are your mom friends. These are the ones who are very organized, very on top of things, and they want to serve others. So some things about them: they're dutiful and stable. They need to be useful. They don't really want to be doing meaningless tasks. They want to do something that they feel like is making a difference. They want to be self-sufficient. They value organization. They desire punctuality. They schedule everything. They make and keep their commitments. They measure their worth by completion. So if they can't finish a project, that's really going to bother them. They have a parental attitude. They're goal-oriented. They make lists again. They value rules. They prepare for the future. They believe work comes first. They safeguard tradition. They prefer order. They like for things to be very clean and where they should be. They enjoy positions of authority, not because they think they're always right or because they think they're super great, but because they're really organized and they're on top of things and they feel like they can lead well. And they bring stability to society. So these are the people that you can count on. These are the people that always know when your assignment is due. They always know what your homework is. They're very on top of everything. So golds see themselves as stable, secure, dependable, firm, always having a view, efficient, realistic, decisive. The executive type, they're a good planner, they're orderly, they're neat, and they're punctual. And a big thing about golds being punctual is that they expect the same from others. So if you're a gold, this is how you see yourself, but also be aware that you want to communicate where you're coming from so that others don't see you negatively. If you're another color other than gold, pay close attention to this next list and be sure that you kind of start to understand where golds are coming from. So sometimes golds can be seen as rigid, controlling, dull, boring, stubborn, opinionated, system-bound, unimaginative, limited flexibility, uptight, setting their own agenda, and have a rigid idea of time, right? So as golds, it's very important to, communicate that you're planning things out, not because you think everyone else is stupid, but because you know that you're good at it, and you can have a list and you can make sure everything gets done. If you're not a gold and you're working with someone that is a gold, it's important to remember that they're not bossing you around. They're not mad at you just because they think time is super important and you should always be on time, that this is just part of their personality. They value time. They don't want to waste any of it. And they're not bossing you around. They just have a list and they want to make sure that everything gets done. So it's very important to understand that. So when you're working with a gold, again, remember to be on time. Try to be extra organized. Every color isn't super organized, but if you're working with a gold, try not to have a ton of, papers all over your desk. Try not to, have everything looking like it's going crazy. Be generous. But golds like things to be returned. So a gold is going to let you borrow their pen or their stapler or their whatever, but they're going to expect it back because they would always give it back because they're very secure and orderly. Do what you say you will do. So for golds, loyalty is super important. And so if you say you're going to take care of a patient report and then you don't, and they end up having to do it, it's going to frustrate them a lot. Be dependable. They like for people to depend on them. Again, they're the mom personality. They're good at answering questions, but they also like for other people to return that. So they like to be able to depend on others as well. And then respect their need for security. So if they come to you and they're asking questions about what's the plan for this, what's the plan for this, that's them asking for that security. They want to know what to expect. Don't just push that aside. Don't just ignore that. Try to address it and give them that security that they need. All right, so blues. What's super important for blues is that they must be authentic. They don't like fakeness. They don't like playing games. They don't like pretending. They want real honesty. They're always in search of themselves. They need to feel unique. They must be true to themselves. They value close relationships. They encourage expression. They desire quality time, so they don't want to just talk about the weather. They want to be able to get to know you. They need opportunities to be creative. They like to compromise and cooperate, so these are peacekeepers. They nurture people, plants, animals, anything that's around them that they feel like needs taken care of. They look beyond the surface. So if they ask you how you are and you say, I'm fine, they're going to try to dig into that. And they're going to want to know, why are you just fine? Did you have a bad day? What's going on? All those kind of things. They like to share their emotions. And a lot of times they kind of want that in return. They make decisions based on their feelings, not necessarily on facts. They need harmony. So they don't like it when things are tense. They don't like it when people aren't getting along. They're committed to their ideals. They're not going to change their mind if it's something that they feel is a moral or an important issue. They cultivate the potential in others. They want to see other people grow and be their best. And they bring unity to society. So their big thing is everyone getting along, everyone working together, and that's what's going to be super important to them. So a blue often sees themselves as warm, caring, compassionate. They like to please people. They're very trusting, romantic, spiritual, creative, idealistic. They're a people person. They care about others. They're willing to work tirelessly. They're unselfish. They're empathetic, and they want harmony. So if you've ever met someone who's kind of constantly in your business or constantly trying to ask you, how are you? How are you feeling? What's going on? All those kind of things. They're more than likely going to be a blue. So again, blues see all of these things as a good thing, but other colors may not understand where blues are coming from. So other colors may see blues as over emotional, groveling, too trusting, mushy, hopelessly naive, too nice, aloof, smothering, manipulative, ignoring policy, talking too much, or being illogical. So try to remember, if you're ever working with a blue, or if you have a friendship with a blue, that a lot of times when they're being emotional, it's because they want you to feel like you can open up to them. If they're being, smothering, it's because they're trying to take care of you. If they seem like they're being illogical, it's because they're not using logic, they're using feelings. So again, try to understand where they're coming from and see things from their point of view. So if you ever work with a blue, spend quality time with them. So they're not really going to want to be brushed off. They're going to want to feel like they had a good conversation with you. Be aware that they wear their heart on their sleeve. So these are not the people to make, office jokes about. These are not the people to, hide their stuff from, because they're going to get their feelings hurt very easily. Listen to them as they listen to you. So this is going to be the person in the office that you're going to vent to. And then they're going to expect that same thing when they need you one day. Be supportive. Typically blues need affirmation. They need, you're doing a great job, or they need just, a thumbs up or something like that. Share your thoughts and your feelings. So blues don't want you to just say, oh, I'm fine, don't worry about it. They really want you to tell them what's going on, because they want to help. And then praise their imagination, their creativity. Again, they need those words of affirmation. So they need you to say, hey, I know we didn't go with your idea, but I want you to know I really think it was a good one. They're going to need that encouragement. All right, and our last color is greens. Typically, we don't see very many of these, but a lot of times we do see it in the more like logical business realm, or more of like the medical field, because it's very analytical. Greens must be competent, right? So they like to know where they're coming from, what's going on. They like to have all of the information. They like to know that they're coming from a knowledgeable standpoint. They're innovative and logical. They often see the big picture and they seek to understand the world. They need to be competent. They need to have information. They require intellectual freedom. They're curious. They question authority. They have a need for control, again, not because they want to necessarily be in control of anyone and everyone all the time, but they like to be in control of themselves and what's going on around them. They push themselves to improve, so they self-motivate. They may become intellectually isolated. Again, they're going to ask all of these questions and gather all of this information, and a lot of times that can separate them from other people. They're slow to make decisions. They like to calculate everything. They value concise communication, so they don't want a lot of fluff. They want you to just tell them what's going on like it is. They look for intellectual stimulation. They're sometimes oblivious to emotions, just because they're focused on the facts. They focus on the future. And this is the color that brings innovation to society. So these are your thinkers. These are your people who are coming up with new ideas that change the way things are working. So greens are going to see themselves as highly intellectual. They often see themselves as being correct. They're tough-minded. They're efficient. They're original, they're rational, they're great planners. They're very calm, not emotional. They're precise, they don't like repetition. They're very under control. They don't often lose control. They can find flaws objectively, and they're very firm to hold to policy. So a lot of times these are your people who are just say it like it is, do it the way it's supposed to be done, very on top of things. The problem is sometimes that gets lost in translation, and sometimes people think that, oh, just because, greens are so calm, they don't give into their emotions, they don't have emotions. Well, that's not necessarily what's going on. It's just that they prefer to be under control. They don't want to lose control. And so they might be feeling things under the surface, but they're not necessarily going to let all of that explode out of them. So sometimes other colors can see greens as an intellectual snob, arrogant, afraid to open up, unappreciative, stingy with praise, unconsiderate of other people and plans, critical, cool, unfeeling, or eccentric. So a lot of times, again, there's no bad color. So greens, we need them in society. They're a lot of times what kind of hold everything together, but sometimes that gets miscommunicated. So if you're working with a green, be aware that they're very curious about life. So if you want to have a conversation with them, they're going to want to be talking about new things that are going on and new innovations. Try to give them things that challenge them. They love to solve problems. They're aware of their abilities to do so, and they like a good challenge. So if you've got a problem that you're not quite sure how to fix, a green is going to be very, very complimented that you came to them and asked them for help. Respect their need for independence. Again, because they're highly intellectual and they know lots of information, a lot of times they don't necessarily work well in a group, not because they don't like other people, but just because they prefer to work alone because they know what they can do. Know that they care even though they may not show it. So again, these are not necessarily your people who are going to crack up at a joke with you all the time or who are going to come to you in tears or anything like that. Doesn't mean they're not feeling things. It just means that, again, they like to be in control. They don't like to lose control. Respect their inventions and their ideas. So because greens work so hard to think of new ideas and they work so hard to gather all the information, not taking them seriously or shooting down their ideas is really going to hurt their feelings. And then give them time to process information. So if you come in with a new project and you just say, this is what we're going to do, they're going to need a little bit of time to do some research. They're going to want to know the facts. They're going to want to kind of compare things before they make a choice. All right, so to understand your personality, what I really want you to think about is how you can apply what you've learned to your interactions with other people. So again, it's very important for you to understand yourself, number one, but also try to start thinking through other people in your life, maybe someone in a class that you've worked with, maybe someone at your internship, maybe even one of your professors, maybe your friends. Try to think through those other personalities and some things you might have misunderstood about them and how understanding where they're coming from can change how you interact with them. And then normally we would split up into groups and we would talk about your color and a list of what you want others to know about your color, because again, a lot of times there's a lot of miscommunication. And then we would talk about the majors and careers that fit best with each color. You guys, depending on what school you're in and things like that, majors and careers kind of vary, but normally like your blues are going to be your caring kind of professions, so nurses, teachers, those kind of things. Greens are typically going to be like your engineers or your doctors or your people who are very analytical. Golds and oranges can kind of be pretty much anything. Oranges a lot of times maybe like a PE coach or a PT or something like that, because they've got that motivating spirit. Golds a lot of times are going to be maybe more like in a lab or something where they're processing information and everything can be very scheduled and organized and things like that. But again, your color doesn't necessarily pick your profession for you. It just can help you understand how to thrive in your profession. It's something good to know. As you graduate and as you go into looking for jobs, you can really communicate how you work and how you process things, so that you can kind of find the place that fits best for you. All right, and so that is our true colors presentation. If you guys have any questions, I'm sure you can ask your professor. You can always email us at troycareer@troy.edu. If you do want to know kind of your color and how that fits with different career options, we do have a career counselor, so you can always set up an appointment with Miss Emily Reese, and we can talk to you about it.